What's up, y'all?
Oh, what's up? Am I tripping? Did the video play?
Yes.
It did not show on my screen. Maybe it's because I'm on my phone. I don't know.
Yeah, it's on there. It played. The
Because I
song
can
played
see
and
you
everything.
dancing, and I'm like, and what is going on? Okay, what's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining us. The Lioness, Adele Nicole, and
Carlita Nicole, the quirky queen herself, Chi-Town, born and bred, Texas fed. What's up, y'all?
what's up?
Sadell. Sadell. Can
Yeah,
we get into it? Okay. So, first off, first things first, let's just congratulate the lady LSU Tigers for their phenomenal win over Iowa in the women's national championship.
right.
Congratulations,
Yeah.
ladies.
Yeah.
Okay, now, okay, we got to get into this because first of all, I'm not. We never get to start off with women's basketball, hardly ever, but today we are, and we're gonna give it some time. Why? Because this was the best Final Four, women's Final Four ever. It was awesome. Hold on. There y'all go. Okay, my bad. So, okay. First of all, in the women's Final Four, you had Iowa play South Carolina. Game was the bomb.
Crazy.
At LSU and Virginia Tech. The bomb. So let's start there. And why are we starting there? Because we're giving them their due justice for the Final Four going into this championship. Y'all, this Iowa South Carolina game was so hyped up. And I think the stories surrounding the women's games this season were so big and so dope that it made people want to dive in and watch these games like never before. So, South Carolina, as you know, Don Staley's team, Don Staley, the legend,
Right.
she's won a national championship last season with these girls. Her starting lineup this season, all seniors. Okay. So this is the deal. Like, they're number one. They're number one. They had not lost the game, like not this season, and not like what was it, 300 something? I don't know. It was a lot of days that they hadn't lost the game.
Through the play. I mean, they won the championship last year, right? So
Yes, yes.
through
So they
all those
had not
playoffs from
lost a
last season.
game. Right. And then so this is the thing. We all know with South Carolina, they have hoopers, right? And but one of the things that I noticed in that game, Sadell, was that South Carolina, like they are physical players and they will impose their physicality on you. However, they ain't got no shooters. And that was made apparent versus Iowa in that game where it was like I couldn't understand how they were not scoring. They weren't knocking down shots. And I couldn't figure out how they had been undefeated for so long. And then when you put two and two together, you realize like they are a physical team.
Yeah.
They're going to impose that on you and force turnovers, et cetera, but they weren't able to capitalize off of rebounds, turnovers, anything like that, and it ended up with them losing by 4 points. And their team also missed critical free throws. When you watch that game, Stadell, as a coach, what was going through your mind, like watching the last 5 minutes of that game, knowing Caitlin Clark is Clarking it. She's doing her thing, and then boom, this was the Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston show. So
Yeah.
what were you
I
thinking?
mean, I think for me, the craziest thing for me is that Caitlin Clark is kind of like a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to double her because they do have shooters, and she does a really good job of finding people in the right position and helping them score. But on the other hand, I just feel like she imposed her will, and she did what South Carolina had normally done to people, is basically run them to death. Like they got the ball and they
Yes.
were out and gone. And it was hard for South Carolina because normally they are driving in the paint. Well, all that Iowa did was pack the paint.
Right.
And
Right.
so they packed the paint, and it made it hard for them to get to the hole. It made it hard for them to score the way they're usually, prepared to score. And then Iowa got the ball out and they were gone. And so
Yes.
you're having to go full speed. So South Carolina is having to defend everybody full court, full
Yes.
speed. Iowa didn't do that.
They
They didn't. They kind of sagged off. I mean, it was a matchup zone almost the way they played them and dared them to shoot outside. The
mm-hmm.
thing is, not only were they not hitting, it's like they hesitated even to take their shots. It's like they weren't
Yes.
confident. They didn't. And
Yes.
so they never really readjusted for that. They never came out of that. And
Right.
that was the only thing, because I'm like, at some point, somebody has to start shooting. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. But scoring, because it wasn't that they were just completely not shooting, but
Is
they
they
were not
hesitated
knocking
though.
down
You can tell they didn't want to score. They
yeah.
didn't want to take the shots. And so, but I just find it hard. I mean, I think I would have rather her had 41 assists than 41 points, because it's a give and take. She's going to at some point, but all of those assists that she had weren't going to be 3-pointers, and a
Yeah.
lot of her points came from the 3-point line.
Yeah.
She has a lot of range, and just getting a hand
Gosh.
up in her face, because that's the same thing. That's what LSU did. LSU
Yes.
got all in her grill.
Yes.
And of course, the officiating was a little bit different in that game, because she plays physical too, and
Yes.
they started calling that. But I just feel like I just can't let one person beat me. I don't know. I mean, we gonna double her and get off the ball, and everybody rotate to get back, but I can't. And her game is, and said, a lot like Steph. And someone said she and Steph Curry actually work out together. She works out with him. I don't know if that's true, but
Wow.
someone said that. But
That would be
it
bananas.
would make sense because their game is very similar.
Yes, it
Her
is.
release is very quick, like his. Like he has a
Yes.
very quick release.
It's fluid. It's a
It,
very fluid shot, and it like it's all in one piece. And I like she doesn't stop and pause and then shoot. It's all together. And I'm like, dang, this girl is like a video game character. She's all over the court. She's shooting ridiculous shots,
yeah,
and she's making them, and she has handles. We did see that. But I just think in the South Carolina game, it seemed from the start of that game that the pace that Iowa owned, the pace of that game.
they did.
And I was like, is it just me? But I'm glad that it wasn't just me.
I just hate that. I just feel like they didn't defend her well at all.
Yes.
And I feel
Yes.
like they were like in a point where they didn't want to help off, because she does do a good job of dishing, but their on-ball defense with her just wasn't that good. I mean, she comes off screens and things like that, but a lot of times she just literally drove right to the paint, just
Yes.
made a move and got
Yes.
past somebody. You know what I'm saying? And so
That's
I
what
feel
makes it
like,
so dangerous.
right, but
She
even on her
can't go to
three,
the hole.
if she's anywhere past half court, like why are you not defending her for the shot?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I just feel like
Absolutely.
they kind of let off too much, and then they didn't capitalize when they were able to get turnovers. They didn't capitalize on them
Right.
enough, because when you're playing a game like that, everything counts, and it's
Right.
not always going to
Right.
be the big things. It's little things, like you said, free throws,
Right.
capitalizing on
Exactly.
turnovers.
Especially when the game is a 4-point game.
Right. So
Especially that.
I hate that though, and as much as everybody was saying that Caitlin Clark was the reason everybody started watching, my biggest thing was South Carolina, to be honest. I mean,
Yes.
they're
Yes.
they win the SEC undefeated. They're going through this season undefeated. They
Right.
were poised to win and be undefeated. And
Back to
all these
back. That's what I was looking forward to. Them
right.
winning back to back championships. I saw that for them, and I watched that game with the full expectation that that was going to happen.
Well, I expected LSU and South Carolina to be in the championship.
Yeah,
That was my
yeah.
expectation. Now, I knew that LSU was going to give them a run, but I thought that was going to be a great game. I thought that would have been a better game.
So with the LSU and Virginia Tech game, that was also a close game. It was 79-72. Of course, Angel Reese is Angel Reese, and she's one of the top players in the country. So when but with Virginia Tech was number one. LSU was a 3 seed, but LSU, gosh, Kim Mulkey has put together this team that of like quiet superstars. They have a lot of ladies on that LSU team that, and that made the championship game to me even more exciting. And we'll get to that, get to it now. With the LSU team, the difference between the LSU team and the Iowa team, for one, is that Iowa heavily depends on Caitlin Clark in every aspect. If she goes to the bench, when she got in foul trouble early in the game, we saw they struggled. They struggle even offensively moving the ball around when she's off the court. So then look at LSU. Angel Reese, if she's on the bench, they don't falter. They have Flau'jae Johnson. They have a Jasmine Carson. They have multiple players that can come off, well, starters, but bench players, people who aren't starting. Their bench is deep. They have a lot of talent, and that talent is spread out. And I don't feel like it was the same with Iowa. And I think that was a huge difference in that game, but it was still a very physical game.
I think another thing that added to that was just the fact that LSU adjusted to the officials and they kept playing. You know what I'm saying? Iowa didn't really. Like Caitlin Clark literally changed her whole game because she stopped driving because they
Yeah,
didn't call for that hook, which she's
yeah,
done it. So she
yeah.
stopped doing it. Like she literally changed her whole game. And it took away a lot from that because they started thinking about every move.
Mhm.
LSU just kept playing.
Yeah,
Like they gonna call it, and we just gonna, they just kept going at them. And then when they started smelling blood, it's like that even made them go harder.
right.
But Iowa, they literally like it stunned them, getting into because they're the princess team.
Mhm.
So getting into foul trouble with so many of them getting into foul trouble early,
Early.
they didn't adjust. But
Yep.
LSU had two of their greatest players in foul trouble early, sitting on the bench. But when they came back, they went back to work. They didn't come
Yeah.
in and change the way they played, and Iowa
17-point
did.
lead at the half.
Right.
Like they LSU came in ready for that game. And one of the things Kim Mulkey said after the game was that she said, "I'm not afraid of personalities." And these girls have big personalities. And not every coach wants to coach that, but I'm not afraid of it. And she assembled these girls that other coaches may not have had. At one point, oh my gosh, I just lost the young lady's name, but one of the players that was on this LSU team played with her in Baylor, transferred to another school, and transferred to A&M or Rutgers, A&M and Rutgers. Got in contact, I guess, with Coach Mulkey again, and went to LSU with her. I don't know what this girl had going on with her transfers, but clearly that is a situation where coaches feel like you are uncoachable.
Yeah.
When you're passed around like that, they feel like they can't say anything to you. You're not coachable to the point of shut up and do what we need you to do. You always got something to say. And it seemed like this young lady had a big, huge personality. And yo, I promise you, like, even after they won the championship, like, she still had like this mug on her face, like, and I was like, smile, y'all just won the championship. But I don't know. but her story though, she didn't give up, and Kim Mulkey didn't give up on her, and she gave her a second chance, and they won a national championship with players that other people did not want. They did not want to give these ladies a chance, and she did, and hats off to her for that. But she put together a phenomenal team in the matter of months to win the national championship. You are a coach, so you know what that's like. You know, it's different from high school to college because you can, with college, they're scouting.
Right.
But even as a high school coach, like goodness, think about that. In one season, for you to go from what they were to national champions with ladies who had never played with each other. That's phenomenal.
So I think, this is her second season at LSU.
Yes.
And I think, she went in there prepared and working on with this was her mission to
Hmm.
give them something they never had before.
Right.
And to be able to do it in another level. I mean, she's done it, so she knows what it takes to get there, and that also makes a big difference. You know what it takes, you know what that stage is like, you know what is going to be
Yep.
required of those players, and so you can prepare them somewhat for that, right?
Right.
And they completely buy into her because she believes in them and they know that she believes in them.
Right.
So they buy into whatever it is she's selling. I mean,
Yeah.
same thing, like you talked about Jasmine. I mean, she literally was like, she's a fifth year senior. She didn't know
Right.
what was going to happen. She didn't know she was going to get an opportunity, but she wanted to be prepared. She
Hmm.
hadn't been shooting well. That was her expectation. That was her job as a shooter, and she hadn't been shooting well,
Yeah.
but she gets in and was able to show up. And someone mentioned that it took phenomenal shooting.
Yes.
Now, the only reason why I don't know, and I don't remember who it was, someone said that Iowa would beat them 3 out of 5 times, and the only
Yes. I
reason
saw
why
that.
I'm not as certain about that is because the margin of the score, it wasn't 2 or 3 points, and I think more than anything,
Right.
the way they were able to defend Caitlin, because there were times whereas when they were playing South Carolina, she would take 2 dribbles and pull up. When in the game against LSU, she would take those 2 dribbles and someone would be smothering her like a blanket,
Yep.
and she couldn't get
Makes
it
a
off.
difference.
So I think that also made a difference. And like you said, everything plays through her. So
Right.
if she's not able to get it off really quick and she's not able to get those passes off and they're actually in passing lanes and getting steals and turnovers, because that is the thing with her, she's really high risk and really high return.
Yes.
So you know is she's going to be great and do the things that she does, but because of the way she does things, yeah, there's a lot of risk. You're going to live and
Right.
die by that 3-pointer.
Right.
You're going to live and die by some of those risky passes, and some of those passes were turnovers, right?
Yeah.
Because they were amped up and playing that hard. And so
More
I don't,
so in the championship game than with the final four game, because
right.
those passes, they got where they needed to go when she was playing against South Carolina, but LSU was like, nope.
And so, I mean, I think now if they played a series, LSU knows how to play her, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think that makes things
Absolutely.
a little bit different. And whether or not they shoot as well as they shot in that game, they still have decent shooters. And I was not going to be able to just sag into the paint. So
Right.
that also plays a part, because when you have to play hard on defense, it takes away from your offense to a certain degree. Whereas in the game against South Carolina, they were able to kind of chill. So they were able to actually rest on defense and then go full force on offense. So it just depends.
So Ant says the LSU was just a better and deeper team overall. Iowa's team lacked athleticism and depth. Clark would have benefited from having one more dynamic teammate. And not to say that she didn't have good teammates, because I was a very well coached team.
They are, and they
Those
shoot
ladies
well.
know they shoot well, and they know their positions, they know their roles, and they play to their role. But even though they play to their role, they still heavily lean on Caitlin Clark the way that they do. So this is one of the things that you had mentioned, was how that is a huge risk to lean on one player like that. So Caitlin Clark was responsible for like 60% of their points throughout their entire season. And what I mean by that is either she scored on those points or she assisted on those points.
Right.
So one of the other crazy stats, in the final four game, before she even played in the national championship, she had already had 161 points and 52 assists in the tournament, just in the tournament. Now, since the year 2000, it's one of six. This was one of six instances of a player having 150 points and over 50 assists in any 5-game span. Just one of six times since the year 2000, and all six of those times belong to Caitlin Clark. This girl is a generational talent. She is phenomenal. But I wonder what that means for Iowa's team. So we're talking to Erica mentioned the transfer portal being this godsend for college sports in general. It absolutely has been, because you can build and rebuild a team a lot quicker than you could previously. If Caitlin Clark were to go to another school, Iowa's team is not the same. But I do feel like, because she's from Iowa, she talks about the state of Iowa so much, I don't think that she would leave.
Right.
But think about just her presence on that team and what that would mean if she wasn't able to play, if she transferred, whatever. That team doesn't have a chance of going anywhere near as far as they did this season. But you can't say that for a team like um South Carolina. If they, when Aaliyah Boston, because she's now going to the WNBA, if Angel Reese were to leave LSU and go to the WNBA, they have options.
Yeah.
Those teams have a chance of doing well in the tournament next season. But I don't feel like that necessarily with Iowa if Caitlin Clark isn't there. But even with Caitlin Clark there, I just feel like the Iowa's coach is going to have to do more to build around her. And like Ant was saying, have another phenomenal player that can. Nobody's going to be able to Caitlin Clark the way Caitlin Clark can. I mean, that she's incredible. She is freaking incredible. She is great to watch. Yo, when they started the game, no lie, I'm watching this game, and she comes out the gate and makes some crazy three, and I just look over.
Steph Curry.
Like what? And then she keeps doing it, and she keeps doing it. This woman is incredibly great. But I mean, and so let me tell you another thing. Her superstardom and the stories surrounding the women's Final Four and the women's championship, with the whole idea of Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese. That was a storyline that people were hyped about and excited to see the best players in the US go head to head. Let me tell you, the women's national championship had 9.9 million viewers.
Yeah.
That was more than any baseball game ever. That was more than any Stanley Cup game since 1973, more than the Orange Bowl this year, the Sugar Bowl, more than any Thursday night football game. The 2021 NBA Finals, okay, the finals, the 2020 World Series, it had more than the finale of The Last of Us, y'all. So understand, this was so big, and they leaned onto the stories of these teams. And I think with Don Staley talking about people writing about her players, like they feel like they've been in bar fights, that part of the physical part of her team. I think the whole Caitlin Clark superstardom, how LSU, Kim Mulkey came from Baylor to LSU and in a matter of 2 seasons did this. I think all of these stories just come together and made this women's Final Four bigger than it ever has been, and it lived up to the hype.
It did.
It lived up to the hype, and it was better than the men's Final
It
Four.
was. And I'm thankful. And I mean, I think the transfer portal is also a double-edged sword because it kind of bails the kids out.
Yeah,
It doesn't make them fight for anything. If something doesn't go their way, they just hop in the portal and try and do something different. Or if they think they might
right.
go to a better team, they hop in the portal and try and do something different. The one benefit that it has had, even on the men's side, right? You think about San Diego, it's kind of like a lot of those kids in the portal end up going to a lot of those major teams, or they end up in the portal because they're thinking they're going to a major team and they may be that caliber player, but they don't get picked up. So now you have mid-major teams that are able to pick up some of these kids that would normally be at Power Five schools. And
Mhm.
so it kind of evens it out. And I think that's what one of the other things that happened in the men's Final Four is because some of these teams and it was the whole March Madness, because there were so many teams that got knocked out by
Early.
lower seeds, by
Yep.
teams you never would have thought would have had a chance.
Yes.
But this portal has allowed them to come and get these older, more experienced kids and be able to compete with a lot of these Power Five schools. And so I don't know that that's ever going to change anytime soon, but it has its benefits, but it also has drawbacks to me, to the game just in general.
Right. No, I understand that. I totally get that. What Natalie was saying, that she's been waiting to see this day where women's basketball and women's sports get their proper due.
Yes.
Absolutely, because
Yeah.
this is the difference though, watching women's NCAA basketball versus the WNBA. So the support, we already know, is not there for the WNBA. And legit, now that, especially after the COVID year, these students have an additional year of eligibility to play for NCAA. And think about that. If you are a women's basketball player, and you are at a school like a LSU or South Carolina, and they have NIL deals. You see Aaliyah Boston and her team on Under Armour stuff, LSU with Nike gear. So you see these young ladies have NIL deals, and they would be making more money in college than they would be in the WNBA. So I'm like, utilize those years of eligibility. Take that money and look and figure it out. By the time you do go to the WNBA, you have a greater cushion for those ladies. So Aaliyah Boston is coming out and going into the league. But someone was saying she does, I think Aaliyah Boston does have one more year of eligibility, but she's coming out this year. They were saying that for women's basketball, you absolutely want to be the number one draft pick. I don't necessarily understand that, because you're going to a team that did not win. Um, so if she were to come out the following year, Caitlin Clark comes out the following year, and Caitlin Clark would most likely be the number one pick in the women's WNBA draft. So all of those things are very interesting. The fact that people are talking about it is
Yeah.
incredible. There are multiple articles written about Dawn Staley defending her ladies as far as the bar fight. So the bar fight comments, y'all, they were a little upsetting to read, that other coaches were saying that the South Carolina ladies, when their players played them, especially in the post, that it would feel like a bar fight. And that their players would come out with bruises and things like that. Dawn defended her girls like she should.
Yeah. I mean, that's crazy anyway. I mean,
Yes.
that's just, they are very physical, but I mean
They're playing
that
basketball. They're playing
exactly.
basketball. So one of the other headlines that was also like a huge thing, yo. This was such a huge thing. So for y'all who I don't know. I guess I'm living under a rock. This is John Cena's. You can't see me, whatever. So Caitlin Clark did that against Louisville, like in what was that, the Elite Eight?
Elite Eight, yeah.
Yeah. So she did that because they couldn't guard her, they couldn't stop her. She was unstoppable. And so in the championship game, here comes Angel Reese, and Angel Reese is like all in her face too,
Following her.
like pointed to her ring finger, like, yeah, we getting that championship ring. And the internet went crazy. The internet went crazy because it was, oh my gosh, Angel Reese is such a bully. She's so unprofessional. That girl, first of all, this is basketball. First of all, we want this type of hype. First of all, go Kate. I'm not mad at Caitlin Clark for doing this against the Louisville girls because they couldn't guard her. But guess what? Angel Reese wasn't wrong when she did it back neither. Angel Reese said she was offended. She took that personally because she did that to somebody in her conference. So she was like, no worries, we got this. And she came back. But it's the whole idea of women not being able to express themselves in the sports world. Like, women can't talk trash, women can't get angry. We talked about it a couple of years ago when there was this big fuss about Serena Williams on the tennis court breaking her racket and people were having a fit. But there are, I couldn't even give you the number of videos there are of men on the tennis court breaking rackets and cussing people out.
Yeah.
Why do you think that that is such a big deal, that for women to express ourselves in that way in the realm of sports?
I mean, this scenario to me is completely different because when Caitlyn did it, they didn't call her monkey. They didn't call her classless.
Mm,
They didn't say that she was a bully. They said she had swag.
mm,
They in fact on one Sports Center, one of those, they were talking about who had the best celebration, and that was one of them.
yeah,
So I'm
yeah,
saying, and so when Angel does it, you got all these people like literally calling her names and
yeah,
talking about how classless and
yeah,
distasteful
yeah,
she is and all of this stuff. So to me, this is a completely different scenario. The thing that gets me is you can literally tell a person's colors when something like that happens. You can
very
tell
true.
where they truly stand when something like that happens because people start really coming out.
Yeah.
Now, on the other hand, they interviewed Caitlin Clark and she
Mm-hmm.
was just like, no, she was like, there's no way people should be saying anything to Angel because I would
Right,
have done the same thing. Like, she was like,
right,
no, it's basketball. I'm happy for them. They won,
right,
and even she talked about the White House visit. No, we didn't win. Like, that's for them to enjoy. They're the ones who need to go. We don't need to be there. That's for them to enjoy. And she was like, I don't even know why all this is. So you have so many people out there talking down on this girl who they say is ghetto and loud and
right,
whatever. And the person that she supposedly offended is like, it's basketball. We all talk trash. That's just what it is. To me, this wasn't just about her talking trash. It was about all these little ghetto white black girls that they talk
mhm,
about who they say are too loud and boisterous and attitude is too.
right,
And then all of a sudden you have these sweet, wholesome little white girls. And I'm not that person. Like, I'm not the race car person. I'm not.
mm-hmm,
But listening to some of these people's comments and people that I
right,
know listening to their comments, because it is the same thing.
right.
Caitlin Clark did it, and it's cool because it is. I mean, people are going to talk noise. That's just part of it.
That's part of
And
the game.
she's notoriously one of the biggest trash talkers, and she notoriously backs it up.
Yes,
So that's what she said.
right,
Even Caitlyn was like, she did it and she backed it up. I mean, she had
right,
a right to. I would have probably done the same thing. I mean, so that's the thing that bothers me. Not that they criticized that thing and that gesture in women's sports, because they didn't. They didn't criticize the gesture. They criticized the person,
right,
and one person over another. They
right,
criticized the black girl. I mean, just like we were talking about, all the officiating. The officiating wasn't just against LSU. It wasn't just against Iowa.
It was all over the place.
It
It
was
was so
across the
weird.
board. It was across the board horrible. But a
Yes,
lot of the Iowa fans were, oh my God, they didn't know. It was horrible on both sides. When you got two of LSU's major players, two starters, sitting on the bench for most of the first half, they didn't even really play in the second quarter
right,
because they're already in foul trouble. That's a problem.
right.
But nobody's talking about that, right? They're just saying, oh, everybody's talking about, and so that's the problem that I have. It's not that do you think the Lakers will make the finals? It's not that they're trying to silence the women in general in this instance. In this instance, they trying to silence Angel only.
Yes,
And so
yes.
that's the problem that I have with that.
So the like I said, there was um so much different controversy surrounding the women's basketball tournament, and I have to sneeze so bad, but I can't. Pollen here, y'all. Dallas and the pollen in spring has been horrible. So anyhow, yes, one of the other controversies surrounding this, Adele, was our Jill Biden
Oh,
saying, "Go ahead. I think I need to tell my husband, let's invite Iowa to the White House because they played a good game too." Ma'am, never in the history of the NCAA champions have the runner up been invited.
never in the history of any championship. In high school, they take the state championship winner. In any sport, in any championship, they take the winning team. Now, to be honest, I think it was more her ignorance than
Yes,
anything else.
yes,
I don't think she
absolutely.
meant it in the way it came across. I think it was just ignorance. And then her people came back and cleared it up very quickly. Like, no, 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 we're not inviting them. We're just
It was just
inviting. She was talking about the greatness in women's sports. But yeah, it's just crazy.
so yeah, exactly. So Aunt says the only problem I had with Angel Reese's talk was that she did it when the game was basically over. Have the courage to do it before you know the outcome. Well,
Yeah, I mean, that's just like somebody scoring a touchdown. They don't do it until they score
until
the touchdown,
afterwards, right?
And so and the same thing. I mean, I don't have a problem with that at all. When she did it, how she did it, and I'm sure
Right.
they. And then the other thing is, we don't know what was spoken on the court. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We don't know what Caitlyn may have said to Angel during the game. We don't know what Angel may have said to Caitlyn during the game. We don't know what that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we don't know. So I
Right.
mean, for all we know, it could be even other reasons behind it. But at the end of the day, it's basketball, and it's that. Just like after the game, when people start singing "na na na na" when the game
Yeah.
is basically over, they don't do it at halftime. They do it when the
Right.
game is about to be over, and we won the game.
Right. Very true. So that's, y'all, I'm telling you, my heart was filled with so much joy watching these games this weekend
Yeah.
because it was so much love surrounding it. It was so dope to see my entire timeline, like post after post after post, men, women posting about women's college basketball. It made me feel so good, especially being all dope sports chicks and us hardly ever getting to really talk about women's sports like this, because at the end of the day, people don't support women's basketball, not women's professional basketball, but the collegiate portion of it has so much more ambiance to it, partly because it's a college, and there's there's current students, there's faculty and staff that are all at these games. But then when you see the WNBA games, it's like the seats are empty. There's also not a band. I don't even know if there's cheerleaders because I don't really hear a whole lot of noise and stuff in the arenas. But when you turn on these college games, you're hearing the crowds from both sides. You're hearing the band. You're hearing these students. They're going in about the refs and so on and so forth. And so the just all of the feeling and the emotion is not there. It doesn't carry on from college to the professional side when it comes to women's basketball. That's what we're missing. Like at this point, I tell all these women's basketball teams, like, do something to where you got local college bands coming and playing at your home games. Give out tickets to, if it's the Dallas Wings and the Dallas Mavericks, go give out Dallas Wings tickets to the during the Dallas Mavericks game. But this is just to get people in the seats. I'm saying just to get people in the seats. And
Dallas Wings gives out a lot of tickets, and I mean a lot, to the point that a large portion of the people at the game are there for free. I mean, they give out a lot of tickets trying to build that up. Like, so it just, I don't know what it's going to take. I mean, the marketing maybe will help some, and maybe the hype with college sports and the women that are playing now moving over will help some, I hope. But
right.
they give away a substantial number of tickets.
I think part of it too, Sadell, is the fact that women's basketball professionally, they don't have as much like the superstars that the NBA has. That's stardom. Caitlin Clark has it. Angel Reese, the Bayou Barbie, she has it. And I think with those stories, people would watch them if they played professionally. I think they would bring more people in the seats. Absolutely, the people of Iowa are gonna still support Caitlin Clark wherever, with whatever team she goes to professionally. We just need to get people in the seats and let people know, like, women's basketball is good basketball. It's great to watch. And guess what? They ain't doing load management like that either. So
right, they playing.
Right, they're playing because their lives and livelihoods depend on it. So, like, y'all, we just have to do better. Natalie was at the game, y'all, and she was making updates, and I was like, yes, keep us posted, because I'm living vicariously through all of everybody that I know that was at the AA center to watch these games, because I know it was the bomb. So thank you, Natalie, for doing that for all of us that were really excited with you posting all of the updates and stuff. But she said she thinks that the WNBA will benefit from this year going forward. I hope so. I hope so, because it just really breaks my heart that there's so much hype collegiate in the collegiate realm for women's basketball, but then it just tapers off, like, and it's a huge drop.
But
It's
see,
not
there hasn't been hype like it has been this year, though. Like,
no,
this year has
it
been
hasn't.
exceptional. So I
Yes.
do agree with Natalie. I think it can't help but to spill over some.
Right. I hope so. I hope so. So, okay, with all of that being said, it does warm my heart that we have talked about women's basketball for as long as we have. But real quick, we do need to dive into the men's tournament. First of all, we had San Diego State and UConn in the finals, and in that game, y'all, first it was 59-76. It wasn't even a close game, and I was just,
it was disappointing. It was disappointing. I thought it was going to be a better game, and I hope that it was going to be a better game. But was UConn was a load to handle, and
yeah,
it wasn't quite as exciting and exhilarating to watch.
it wasn't, but congratulations to UConn.
Right.
And like someone said earlier, Angel Reese's cousin is on that team,
Right.
which is dope. And that this season for the men's tourney, there weren't a lot of stories. There weren't a lot of the rivalries that social media or media made up. They didn't put a lot of emphasis in, like their biggest story was Florida Atlantic getting to the Final Four. That
Yeah.
was the biggest story.
Well, there was just a lot of upsets early,
Yes. Yeah.
and it kind of everybody's bracket was just tore up like
After the
early
first,
because
yes.
it was crazy. Like, what in the
I,
world?
I had Texas. I had Texas in my Final Four. That
If
hurt my
Texas big guy had not gotten hurt, they probably would have made it a little further. But when you lose your big presence on the inside,
yeah.
it's kind of hard to win. But I think if he had not gone down, then they probably would have gone a little further.
I do believe that as well. So that Florida Atlantic game in the Final Four when Florida Atlantic played San Diego State, I do believe that was the best game between the Final Four and their championship,
Yeah.
because that game came down to the wire. Like, that game was heartbreaking at the end, because San Diego State went up for a shot when Florida Atlantic was up. Florida Atlantic was up, and it was like, okay, all right, go Florida Atlantic. Y'all about to get to go to the championship.
But see, the whole thing that's crazy to me with that scenario is there's still time on the clock. San
Yeah,
Diego State still had a timeout,
yeah,
but he trusted him enough to say, "Nah, this dude about to go score." Because he
yeah,
could call the timeout and set up a play, but he didn't.
yeah,
Like, they had time to. And so the fact that he didn't and allowed him to just go and dribble that thing out till he got the shot that he wanted and knock that baby down, man,
yeah.
that was crazy.
That that was truly a coach trusting his player. And I saw that a lot in this tournament. But like I said, unfortunately, like for the men's side, I didn't see, like, this was the last good game. The rest of the games, I was like, blah. But
Yeah.
the games, even in the Elite Eight games, gosh, now I can't even think of the daggone school. But the team Sadell that played, that the dude was bringing the ball down the court, and his coach was like yelling at him on the
Oh, oh,
sideline,
oh,
and
oh, when
he
they
was
did
like,
that fake
they're
play.
arguing back and forth,
Yeah.
and then he's like, okay, no, whatever, coach, and shoots a daggone shot. And I'm just like, how did you do that? What are y'all doing? I
That
thought
was
it was
UConn.
great. It was exciting. What team was that?
I thought that was UConn.
Nah, that wasn't UConn. Kansas State.
Oh,
It
yeah,
was
Kansas State.
Kansas State.
Hey,
It was
Kansas
Kansas
State. He
State.
actually got Coach of the Year.
Yeah, yeah. Hey,
Oh, and then
that was,
North Texas won the NIT.
yes, they did.
Yeah.
Congratulations to UNT, North Texas. Congrats to them. So it's, I mean, now that all of the madness in March is over, we have the month of April, the rest of April, to dive into our play-in tournament for the NBA, and then we have draft day coming up, WNBA, NFL. We got drafts coming up. Okay, so here's the deal, y'all. First of all, the last week I told y'all that what my Mavericks had to do in order to get into the play-in tournament. The play-in tournament, like, legit, a couple of months ago, we were like number 6. So we didn't
Right.
have to worry about the play-in tournament. But all of a sudden, Kyrie Irving gets here, and we don't gel. And it's not that him or Luca aren't scoring points, because both of them are scoring points. We are not finishing games. Case in point, our last game that we're playing right now, but our last game was against the Hawks. We lost by 2 at the last minute of the game. These games are close losses. We're not getting blown out. We talked to y'all about that last week. Currently now, the Mavericks are in 11th place. That is out of the daggone play-in tournament, y'all. So we are one game, or a half a game behind the Oklahoma Thunder. Right now, there's 2 games left after tonight. The Mavericks will have to play the Spurs and the Bulls. Hopefully, we win tonight. The Thunder plays the Jazz and the Grizzlies. They lost to the Warriors yesterday. We need the Thunder to lose out, and we got to win in order to get into this tournament. How the Lakers went from out of the play-in tournament to the daggone 7th place befuddles me. I don't understand that. I think that's the most ghetto thing ever, because do we want to see the Lakers in the playoffs? No, I don't
But
want
when
to.
you were initially talking about that, LeBron wasn't playing. And
Right.
I know, but we knew at some point he was going to be able to play. And so you were just, oh, they're going to be out. And then lo and behold, we couldn't afford to lose any games, and
No,
we
and
can't
we keep
close
losing.
any. We
And
we
we keep
just,
losing.
but that's been a problem. And I mean, it was a problem before Kyrie came. We don't close out games.
So, okay, so Ed brings up this point that if the Mavs make it in the play-in tournament, their first round draft pick goes to the Knicks. That was in whatever situation we did with the Porzingis trade. That was some stipulation. If the Mavs don't make it, we'll have a top 10 pick. So he's saying, what's our preference? Well, this is the thing. If the Mavs don't make it, I read an article that says that the Mavericks are considering shutting down Kyrie Irving and Luka for the rest of the season. So that would mean that we wouldn't make it into the play-in, and we would have that top 10 pick. Do we need that top 10 pick? First of all, we probably do. We absolutely do. But are we going to keep Kyrie Irving? I think we need Kyrie Irving, especially because we gave up Jalen Brunson. We should, if we never gave up Jalen Brunson, I think us being in the play-in would not even be a thing.
No, but my thing is, if we're in the play-in, we're not gonna go far. So I'm just saying, we get to the playoffs, we get through the play-in tournament, we lose the first round. It's not even worth it, to be honest. If we're not positioned, we're not positioned to go where we need to go. If we had a better seeding, maybe we'd have a better opportunity to make a deeper run. But coming from where we are, he said Kyrie's a Laker next season.
That's just ghetto and ugly, and we are not choosing violence tonight.
That would be interesting. But it's a matter of if we can get the right pick. I mean, and who knows what the right pick is going to be at this point. So, I don't know.
I don't know either. And it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing, because I don't know what my preference is. I want to get a top 10 pick, but what good is that going to do if we're back to square one with not having a clear number 2 player like a Kyrie Irving? If he does not stay, then what is the point? I like, this is what's frustrating for me, because I felt like, 2 months ago, I had a whole different outcome of what our season was going to be.
But there was a lot of games left, and there was a very little error. I mean, there was a very little margin of error, because even though we were 7th, it was just so tight. Like, we were half a game ahead of somebody, 1 game ahead, 3 of them tied. I mean, it was just that those last 2 spots were always very, very, very close. And
Yeah.
Yes.
And
we couldn't afford to lose. That was the thing. We really,
and
at that point, we knew that we needed to try and win as many games as possible. And
we did it.
We haven't been able to do that.
And this is the thing. You know what makes me even more upset? Because I despise seeing the Lakers in the playoffs. But the Lakers are currently number 7 with 41 wins. The Clippers are number 6 with 41 wins. What the whole hell? Now, they are tied for games behind. They like, if the Clippers lose out and the Lakers win out, the Lakers get in the playoffs without playing in the play-in tournament. And who did okay. None of this is okay. Literally, the Warriors. The Warriors are gonna find a way. We always know that. I'm not. The Warriors are number 5 right now, but currently, who we have in the play-in tournament 7, 8, 9, and 10, the Lakers, the Pelicans, the Timberwolves, and the Thunder. We can only get 10th place at this point because the Timberwolves are, what is that, 3.5 games? We're 3.5 games behind the daggone Timberwolves.
Not even enough games left to move to
No,
where we would need to
we
move. There's
would
not enough
only
games
be
left.
in 10th place. Only in 10th place. In the 10th seed, what is it? The 7 play 8, 8 play 9, but no, does 10 play 7? I can't remember.
10 play 7 and 8 and 9 play.
Right. So what, we play the daggone Lakers. Yo.
Or the Clippers.
Give it up. Okay, so I'm answered it. Right. We play the Lakers or the daggone Clippers. At this point, crash the season. I'm done because what the hell? We couldn't finish. We couldn't close games. And so Sadell, somebody asked the question on one of my posts that I couldn't answer it because I was upset when I watched us lose against the Hawks. But the question is, I'm gonna give it to you to answer, and then we go wrap this up. Because we're losing such close games and we're not able to finish consistently, is this Jason Kidd's fault? Is this coaching?
I mean, I think to a certain degree it is, because it's critical. I mean, you have to have stuff that's set up to cover you in the last couple of minutes of the game, and that's where we're falling apart. We're not. If we're up, we're not managing the ball well, right? We're not taking the shots that we need to take. We're not taking the time off that we need to take. And then if we're down, we're not playing with the urgency that we need to be playing with. Like, we're not finishing games. And so we'll end up, going into the fourth quarter up by 10, 12, 14 points, and then still lose a game. So at the end of the game, of course, there's always going to be some on the players, but in basketball, at the end of the game, a big portion of that is going to be on coaching and being able to put them and call the right plays and put them in the position that they need to be in. So,
well, Barron says that Jason Kidd is still Jason from the past with the Nets. They can't call plays in the last 5 minutes. That's why the Nets went to the finals and never won. And Cuban might need to fire him. Y'all, I don't even know at this point.
And see, I thought Jason Kidd, I thought he was gonna be a decent fit.
Me too.
I wasn't sure how it was gonna play out, but I thought it would be good for Luka,
Yes.
But the thing is, I just being able to manage all of that at the end of the game, it just doesn't seem to be happening. And I mean, same thing, like we talk about in football. And football to me is a little bit different because sometimes it does, you call the play, maybe they don't run the right play, or you call the play and maybe the pass is off or whatever. But in basketball, it's a little bit different. Like, you can call plays in the last couple minutes to get a bucket or to delay them getting a bucket. I mean, there's just different things that I feel like we're not actually doing. And maybe we do need someone a little bit more hard-nosed, not specifically for Luka, but like defense, and just, kind of get them fired up and more motivated to play harder.
Right. I agree. I agree. This is frustrating for me as a fan because I feel like this is my Dallas Cowboys season all over again, where we're just, well, not this season, the season before this last one, where we're catching up or playing catch up, and it's on the line. Everything is on the line at the end of the game. And that's just consistent with the Dallas teams right now. And hopefully next season the Mavericks and the Cowboys can get it together. Go Rangers.
It would just be nice to have a championship. Like
Yes.
it would just be
It's
nice,
not 10 years old.
like it would just be nice
Yes.
to, yeah.
Yes.
Don't
Y'all,
know when it's
I'm
gonna
gonna
happen, but it would be nice.
motivate y'all. We're here. Like, call us. We're here. Let us know. We got
Like,
you.
geez.
Okay, well, that's all we have for tonight. What is the deal?
That's all we have. Yeah, I was trying to think. There's really nothing else. But anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We love you. We appreciate you. If no one told you they love you this week, just know that we love you and we look forward to seeing you every week. Hope you have a good evening and enjoy the rest of your week. And happy Easter and hope
Yeah.
you have a wonderful weekend.
Be safe.
Be safe. Peace
See
out.
you next week.